What's good, y'all? It's your boy Ross back at again with another video. So we're gonna check out Edge versus John Cena, the greatest rivalry ever? Question mark. It's definitely one of the greatest rivalries for sure. You can kind of put it up there with the Stone Cold versus the Rock rivalry. You can put it up there with, you know, Triple H and The Rock, or Triple H and Stone Cold. It was definitely a rivalry that accentuated the newer generation, you know, the ruthless aggression era, and then, you know, post ruthless aggression era as well. They kind of was more on the tail end of that, kind of like around 05, 06, you know, when John Cena really had became pretty much the guy in the company, and them experimenting with Edge being the #1 heel and how that transpired. You know, their rivalry it's really good. I mean, the only other one that rivals this one would be John Cena and Randy Orton. They had a legendary rivalry too that culminated closer to around the same time after the Edge and John Cena one. So it's just one of those things where it, for some people, for kids who grew up in that era, for them that didn't see The Rock and Stone Cold, or, you know, The Rock and Triple H or whatever, they would probably say this is the greatest rivalry of all time. And I can't get mad at them because this still was really, really good. So y'all been wanting me to check this out. We're going to check this out. Sit back and relax. It's 33 plus minutes. And we're going to get into this damn thing, man. I'm looking forward to going back down memory lane and just checking out some of their greatest, like, matches, promos, feuds, all type of stuff, man.
Every so often, two guys come around that define each other's legacies.
Stone Cold
Men
and Vince
so
McMahon,
important to each other's
one of the
career
greatest
that
rivalries.
their story seems unfathomable without the other. In the gritty days of the ruthless aggression era, this was Edge and John Cena. And let me tell you, these two did quite literally everything to each other.
Yeah.
From mental manipulation, insane ultimate foil, and everything came together to create a brilliant masterpiece.
Fantastic rivalry, man. Let's go back down
April
memory
3rd,
lane.
2005 is not only one of the most important nights in the WWE, but the defining show for an entire cast of legendary characters. Under the Hollywood lights, brand new stars were cemented that would be the foundation of WWE for the next decade. Batista winning the World Heavyweight Championship, and upstart Randy Orton giving The Undertaker a run for his money, Edge winning the Money in the Bank, and the face of the company winning his first WWE Championship. Fast forward to the beginning of the following year and the first pay-per-view of 2006, we come to New Year's Revolution.
Yep.
After being beat into a bloody pulp and hanging on to his WWE Championship by the skin of his teeth after an Elimination Chamber match, John Cena was struggling to get to his feet. Just then, out came Vince McMahon, and as he stood at the top of the ramp, he announced that Edge would be cashing in his...
This was tough, bro. This was such a cold moment right here, man. This was a defining moment for sure for Edge, man.
Contract. Out came the ultimate opportunist to live true to his tagline, cashing in the Money in the Bank, and in a matter of minutes becoming the new WWE champion.
Great moment.
It can't be understated how significant this cash-in is in more than one way. Aside from it being the kickoff to the Edge and John Cena rivalry, it was the introduction to a brand new concept, and the way in which they executed it hit the spot. It laid the groundwork for years to come. If they didn't execute it properly, if the moment is different, if executed under a different circumstance, maybe the concept fizzles out very quickly. The following night, the Rated R superstar wanted Raw to be Rated R. He announced that he'd be bringing a whole new meaning to Wrestling Ring. He announced a live celebration to end Raw. And if you know the company's history, you know what
the highest rated segment in Monday Night Raw history, bro. Obviously, they can't do that type of stuff anymore, but back then, it was fair game, man.
happened here pretty well. I don't know what I'm gonna do here because of YouTube. All these years later, stop and think how mind-boggling it is that something like this happened on live television broadcast. Think about when you were a kid. How did you feel? How did others around you react when this celebration happened? Before we got to the end of the night, John Cena demanded his rematch for the WWE title, but out came Edge's girlfriend Lita. Now, I want to give a huge shout out to Lita because while putting this video together, you see John Cena verbally annihilate Lita any chance he gets.
And she wasn't safe from getting the beats. She wasn't safe from actually getting the beats. That's what's crazy. Once again, this is a different time in wrestling.
Thick skin you need in order to take some of these verbal rippings is something that very few have the guts to endure, especially after the whole debacle between Matt, Edge, and Lita a year beforehand. John Cena throughout this rivalry made some insane jokes at Lita's expense, calling her various types of diseases, a prostitute, you name it.
Oh, hey, hold up there, one woman hooker parade.
In this case, he told her that some people in the arena think he sucks, but everyone knows that she does. With Lita then telling Cena that the match was not going to happen tonight, it was going to happen at the Royal Rumble, and that Edge would last longer than 2 minutes in bed to end the night because John Cena lost in less than that time. Lita has revealed that she didn't want to be involved in this segment, saying that Edge, John Cena, and a lot of the crew members tried to stop this segment, but Vince liked it and went ahead with it anyways.
That's crazy.
Edge has also
which makes sense. I'm willing to bet Vince was definitely like, yeah, you got to go out there and do this. Because this is a wild segment, even for this time period, but it ended up being the highest rated segment for Monday Night Raw ever. This is a very, 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 very wild segment to have a live sex celebration in the ring. Obviously, I'm sure people was trying to like, come on, we don't have to do this, but Vince, that's what he wanted.
Actively said that he didn't want to do it. This in turn became the highest rated Raw segment in a year, pulling in a 5.2, so Edge started calling himself the most watched WWE champion in years. The following week, Edge asked Lita to finish what was started last week, and out came Kurt Angle, who had just won the world title on SmackDown. The night closed with him defending his WWE Championship in a tables, ladders, and chairs match against Ric Flair, who he was feuding with pre-cash-in. Look at the absolute state of this man. Like, look at Flair. Edge retained the title and for good measure was going to destroy Flair just a little bit more. Out came Cena to make the save. Now we were just a few days out of the Royal Rumble, but Edge made one thing very clear to everyone. He was not a transitional champion. But before that, John Cena wanted to destroy Lita once again. This time after seeing one of Edge's rated R trailers telling everyone that he wants to give people a preview of the bootleg copy that he received. That this movie was a classic with a classic tale. Boy meets Ho. This, of course, a depiction of, in John Cena's eyes, the rise and fall of Edge, which culminates at the Royal Rumble. How Edge was going to have it all and it would all come crumbling down. Talking about how Edge took Lita to a vacation to Lake Tahoe, got her tater tots from Idaho, and traced her heritage to find out she was half Navajo. And to end things off, she fell in love with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. This ripping of poor Lita ends with her having a slight rebuttal where she tells John Cena to go play with himself, and then Cena, pre-fine speech era, says, "It's really good to see something of substance coming out of her mouth." On the go-home Royal Rumble show, both men were to choose a tag team partner to face off come the end of the night. Edge was such a sleazeball that he was pawning off his own girlfriend to get someone to tag with him. Eventually, Cena got Ric Flair. Edge got the master of the Master Lock, who ended up tapping out to John Cena. We got to Miami for the Royal Rumble, a match that I remember more for John Cena's Killer Starship entrance than I do what actually happened in it. Why did he need to be this extra? I don't know. The two had better matches down the line. Edge lost the WWE title after just 3 weeks, with Cena taking home the gold. Edge was told that this would only be a 3-week thing, but he made the best out of this 3-week stretch. I feel like this almost made sense. Edge cashed in an opportunity. He wasn't supposed to be champion. This time with Cena having a fair shot, of course he was going to win it back.
But I do think this was a situation where they saw something. They knew they had something and it wasn't over. This wasn't a one and done. They saw what they needed to see. They saw that he can carry himself as a heel that people hate. They hate, but in perspective, in relation to John was starting to lose that babyface reaction more and more and more. And even in this feud, you start to see it. Yes, he would get babyface reactions, but he started getting booed more because they were starting to lose him. He was still more or less still over in a sense with the crowd, but you can tell he was definitely starting to get booed more. It just, we hadn't gotten to that point yet, but it was getting there. But even then, Edge was still a good counterpart to John Cena, and I think the trial run they initially gave Edge helped him out in becoming a multiple-time world champion, as you will see later on in this feud.
Edge the following night became consumed by the fact that maybe, just maybe, he was in fact a transitional champion. The night saw Edge get a rematch where Lita had a stroke of genius, thinking that if Edge loses the rematch, he'd get another match, so she blasts Edge with the title, and we were headed towards yet another match between these two. This time a mixed tag team match with the winner choosing the special guest referee for their next fight. And this match was pure comedy as Lita and Edge took on John Cena and Maria. The finish came when Lita realized that John Cena was the legal competitor, and to get out of this sticky situation, she tried to flash John Cena, but from behind, Edge speared Lita and Maria made the cover. Big match, John chose the King of Hardcore Mick Foley as the referee. This splintered both guys off into their WrestleMania 22 matches, Foley taking on Edge and John Cena clashing with Triple H. Both guys came out victorious, and the night after WrestleMania, both Edge and Triple H wanted a piece of John Cena. This, over the coming weeks, became some variation of a handicap match with all three competitors faking out the others and picking up a win heading into Backlash, where Cena retained the championship. But where do we go next in this saga? ECW One Night Stand. Rob Van Dam announced that he was going to cash in at the place where he was most comfortable. A place where he was the man. He wanted the WWE title match on his home turf. You don't need me to tell you the energy and venomous hatred that was spewed towards John Cena.
Yeah, bro. At this present moment, this was the most John Cena had ever been booed. And it wasn't even close. I think after this, the biggest time he got booed was obviously when Edge and John Cena had, I believe, the TLC match, which I'm sure he'll talk about at Unforgiven, and it was in Edge's hometown of Toronto. I believe it was at Unforgiven. He got booed out the building there. And then after that, probably the biggest moment, obviously, CM Punk versus John Cena, Money in the Bank in Chicago. He got eviscerated in the boos. But right here, this is where it really started. They hated this nigga, bro. It was RVD or we riot. This was so fun, man.
Now, every YouTuber under the sun has talked about how rabid this crowd was. In the ending stages, Edge rocked up in a motorcycle helmet to spear John Cena. RVD, with Paul Heyman's assist, became the new WWE champion. He defended this at Vengeance against Edge. The following night on Raw, John Cena was granted his rematch for the title. The night where Edge walked out of Raw, telling everyone that if he didn't get his title match, he was done, only to show up at the end of the night and cost John Cena the match when it looked like RVD was about to tap. Eventually, the championship came back to Edge, who won a triple threat match between the three on Raw, a match that was rushed because of RVD getting caught with weed. Then we come to the summer of 2006, or as we could say, the summer where Edge and John Cena stamped this rivalry as an all-time great. With Edge now being the WWE champion, a rematch was set for Saturday night's main event with the...
You know, it's crazy. So many rematches, bro. It's so crazy that the rematch clause was so... It's lazy booking, but it worked for a lot of these feuds because you wanted to see them go at it over and over and over because it was so entertaining. Like, entertaining characters. You will excuse the fact that we've seen this match with these individuals multiple times. We're going to get a rematch. Oh, he loses. Like, oh, he going to get a rematch. Like, you understood that, but you appreciated it because it was entertaining and you wanted to see it.
Crazy couple scouting their opponent, custom announce table and all, and John Cena lunged lunged at Edge, with him going on to leave the leader of the chain gang laying with a spear, going on to tell the crowd that he's taking Lita to his hotel room because he'd rather be anywhere than here.
Yep.
This is the story of the night on Raw, the couple's night away from the show.
This is so
First,
funny.
Edge bullies the clerk at the desk, and after an arduous wait, their room is finally ready. And naturally, being the WWE champion, making the big bucks, you'd want to order some room service. Once it finally arrives, Edge is in quite the mood, so he tells the worker that he's got exactly 3 minutes to deliver him champagne. But the next time Edge hears a knock on the door, surprise, surprise, it's John Cena who shows up and leaves Edge laying. He throws him left, right, and center, leaving this hotel room a mangled mess and stuffing his opponent with some protein on the way out too. One of the hidden geniuses behind this rivalry is the shifts in scenery. Getting away from the Raw set and doing things that are at various different locations.
And this is what made it so good too, because they were switching it up. It wasn't just in the ring. It was different places, and it was entertaining. It was funny. It was good. Had that ruthless aggression. I appreciate it. I love this.
Go on to stick in your head. Not everything was contained to a WWE environment. John Cena won by DQ on Saturday night's main event because Lita pulled the ref out of the ring. This exchange finished with a brawl where Cena capped things off by planting Edge into the announce table with an FU off the steps, so nothing was solved. Next chapter, the peak. SummerSlam 2006. Matt Striker went on to tell John Cena about his mathematical equations and how it was proven that Edge was greater than John Cena. So John Cena instead gave us another edition of Let Me Rip Lita for absolutely no reason.
John Cena crushed Edge through that announce table because his 2-bit boomed up skank job of a whole Lita.
And then out comes the most horrifying sight as a kid. This guy. Umaga puts Cena through the chalkboard, and we get an impromptu match where Umaga picks up the win.
My God,
when putting these together, I really love going back and watching every little part of the rivalry, and in a way, telling you something that sticks out. And in this, what's really brilliant is how they escalate their hatred. Let me explain this real quick. In today's day and age, guys get so caught up in doing the work shoot stuff, going way too inside baseball to get a crowd reaction or convey this feeling of animosity or personal hatred that might not be there. These two didn't really need to resort to any of the, hey, this is your actual name, and remember 4 years ago when you did this? Slowly but surely, they let what they were doing to each other tell the story. These two didn't need to resort to any of that. They were flat out vicious to each other and held nothing back. John Cena wasn't really caught in the trap of all the babyface tendencies that later became commonplace, and Edge just had this way of speaking that made you hate his guts. His actions week to week were despicable. It was confirmed that Edge in John Cena's home state would defend his championship. If Edge was disqualified, he'd lose the title. Fed up with the disrespect, out came Edge to interrupt the match between Trish Stratus and Mickie James, going on a diatribe about how he was sick of being held back, sick of dealing with so much crap from everyone in the company. First, he tells us that he's really annoyed that he's not on the SummerSlam poster and hates that John Cena is front and center. Then he loses it because on the cover of the upcoming WWE magazine is someone else from Toronto, Trish Stratus. He then tried to spear Trish Stratus, but Carlito made the save. But now it was John Cena's time to respond. He tells Edge that he was supposed to be all over the SummerSlam poster, but they found out that his face actually scares children. Lita was supposed to be part of this poster, but she got a huge deal with 7-Eleven. Slurpees for herpes. I can't believe I just said that. He then proceeds to show us the first cover of CBI featuring Edge. Now it was time for the final Raw before SummerSlam, and on that day we were told that there had been an incident earlier in the day. Lita and Edge made the trek to West Newbury, Massachusetts, and This
was so good. This is what made, bro, slapping a man's father, bro, in his own crib, dog. I gotta put you 6 feet under, right? What?
see this awesome video put together of Edge exploring the Cena household, Going through his closet, wiping his nose with a Larry Bird jersey, eventually Lita and Edge find pictures of a young, invisible John Cena. And seriously, Edge's narration is hilarious. He makes fun of Cena for having the same haircut, receiving his doctorate of thugonometry, and then we see Edge meet Miss Poetic Fashion that one Cena goes down today, the other in 6 days at SummerSlam.
So good, bro.
Main event time. John Cena,
Oh my
Edge,
God,
WWE
this is so
title,
good, bro.
Boston. Edge ended up blasting John Cena in the back of the head with brass knuckles to retain his title, but we were far, far from finished. The next night, out comes your WWE champion, but without his crown jewel. We then find out why Edge doesn't have it in hand. Lita is stood outside with what is clearly a WWE title replica, and she throws the spinner title into the Bridgeport Harbor. This because Edge wanted to wipe the slate clean. He hated John Cena. He hated everything that spinner title represented.
The rated R superstar
any trace
belt
of John Cena permanently erased. So how did Edge redefine the WWE title? Well, it's literally the same, just with the rated R logo.
Yeah, that's it.
This is what Edge's version of the title was supposed to look like. Regardless, later in the night, John Cena got revenge by interrupting his match against a returning Jeff Hardy, and redemption was so sweet for Cena, as this was the night where Edge went for a swim in the Long Island Sound. Yet another fantastic scenery shift, adding more to the depth of this rivalry. Very visually, he's gonna sign this and be out of Edge's life forever, but only if Edge beat him at Unforgiven. This time, the show taking place in Edge's hometown of Toronto, Canada.
TLC match in Edge's hometown in Toronto, man. This was a fun match too.
Also with a special tables, ladders, and chairs twist. What I like about this is Edge as the bad guy is supposed to cheat. He's supposed to not want to defend and not face Cena, but he hates Cena so much that he'll use Cena's own desperation against him. Before we get to our result though, Edge kicked off his Cena Gets Out of My Life Forever countdown, which was only 2 weeks away, giving us another movie trailer.
He's fearless. He's relentless. He's Canadian.
Unforgiven 2006 was a standout match because without a doubt, this is the best match that these two have ever had. This was exceptional from start to finish.
Great match.
There was shenanigans, violence, drama. At one point, Edge was legitimately choked out and knocked out. Memorable spots wherever you skip to. Everything you could want in a TLC match. The exclamation point coming when John Cena threw Edge off a ladder onto 2 tables piled below before unhooking the title and becoming the new champion. At the end of this, he went to give his dad a hug, showing that this was redemption for when Edge slapped him. Seriously, fantastic match. Everything was perfect. Edge then wanted his rematch 2 weeks after this. But of course, John Cena again destroys Lita.
Screw you!
I don't have $10.
This led to Cena taking on Lita with one arm tied behind his back after Lita told John that she was a better wrestler than him. This was essentially the end to the rivalry for a while, as DX indirectly cost Edge his steel cage match before Edge won a number 1 contenders battle royal and challenged Cena later in the night, only for DX to strike yet again. For a few weeks, Edge and Randy Orton had been teaming together. These two eventually came together to make Rated RKO. And this was a child's worst nightmare. Eventually, these two won the tag titles.
This was fun, bro. Rated RKO was definitely fun. Rated RKO versus the DX era. Triple H and HBK, Shawn Michaels. This was fun, bro. This was a fun feud.
But it was John Cena who was part of ending this reign, as he and Shawn Michaels, heading into their WrestleMania 23 match, became the tag team champions. Edge and Randy Orton competed in a ladder match, while as mentioned, HBK and Mr. AA competed in the main event of WrestleMania. After this, both Edge and Randy Orton wanted a piece of John Cena's WWE title heading into Backlash, a match which is one of the best in all 4 men's career, with Shawn Michaels also being added into the mix. Involved in this was Randy Orton, and if you survey a bunch of people on the Randy Orton and John Cena rivalry, you're going to get a variety of responses, one of which will be that it was boring and manufactured. The reason being, it just happened too many times with diminishing results. Well, that's why this worked so well.
And let me play this part back, because I want to comment on this part.
Competed in the main event to the mix. Involved in this was Randy Orton, and if you survey a bunch of people on the Randy Orton and John Cena rivalry, you're gonna get a variety of responses, one of which will be that it was boring and manufactured. The reason being it just happened too many times with diminishing.
And here's the thing. I've heard people give that criticism, and I've given that criticism too. I think it dragged on too long, and it was like, okay, early when they was first really feuding, it was good. The whole the whole part of Randy Orton punt kicking John Cena's father, chef kiss of evilness. That shit was fire, and it really ramped up. But I do believe it did go on too long. But it's still a really great rivalry between these guys. No doubt about it.
Results. Well, that's why this worked so well. They kept Cena and Edge away from each other for a while as one went on to terrorize SmackDown while John Cena continued to dominate Monday nights. This is the end to the best chapter of the Edge versus John Cena Chronicle. I really hope I was able to illustrate the hatred that these two brought, because this was the peak of it. This was when both men were unleashed and grew into their roles. For us, of course, the nostalgia hits, but now taking a look at things big picture, these two guys made each other here. We now jump 2 years ahead to a much different WWE landscape. The rawness of the Ruthless Aggression era was gone and things were more polished, with the company not wanting to toe the line as much. It's February 15th, 2009 at the No Way Out pay-per-view. Both Edge and John Cena walked in as world champions, but only one walked out. The former losing his title to start the night and then going on to take Kofi Kingston's spot in the chamber match before ultimately leaving Key Arena as the new world heavyweight champion. The following night on Raw, Edge told fans that the R in Rated R stood for remarkable, resplendent, and really, really smart. Now he had Viki Guerrero on his side to pull strings for him. In the first bit, he was using Lita, out here making out with her every week, and now he was using Viki. Out came John Cena to tell the world that the R in Rated R stood for rematch. Cena, not getting what he wanted, promised Edge that no matter what, he'd find him and he'd fight him. He cashed in his rematch the following week with Edge was in this generation. He was going to prevent him from being everything that Cena thought he was. Mr. Hustle Loyalty, I still hate this. I hate the fact that these two never main evented a WrestleMania against each other.
Yeah.
I hate that they didn't even have a WrestleMania match together.
Yeah.
Cena went over to SmackDown to once again demand his rematch. Instead, Viki springs the Big Show onto him, a match in which Edge interfered to help the King of Turning heel pick up the win. The following Monday, Raw was in Boston, and having already beat Cena earlier in this story at the same place, Edge wanted to embarrass Cena yet again. Edge got himself DQ'd in this match by hitting John Cena with his title. Viki Guerrero ended up introducing Big Show as the #1 contender to the title, this leading to Edge wondering why Viki was on Show's side all of a sudden. But it's all good. Viki said it was professional. She was still married to Edge in storyline. Big Show said the truth was that Edge wasn't a good champion, before out came John Cena with a little message. A message only Viki Guerrero heard, and something that left her visibly rattled. Since Cena crashed the Edge and Big Show contract signing, it was moved to the following Monday. But after both guys signed the contract, out came our boy Jonathan, and Viki told everyone obviously had something on Viki that caused her to change course. Well, then he made this revelation that he loves Viki. The heart wanted two things: the world title and Viki. So it looked like we had ourselves a love square, if you will. But then Cena told us what was actually up. He didn't like Viki. Actually, the thought of her made him sick. But remember how last week's Raw was in Cena's hometown? Well, he knew a couple guys who had ins here and there, particularly the security guard. Cena then rolls a video showing that while Edge was in the shower, Big Show came into the locker room and her and Viki talked about the animalistic urges they had for each other before the two shared a kiss.
This is definitely some Vince McMahon, Vince McMahon storyteller right here.
Followed by Viki telling Big Show that she hopes he wins at WrestleMania. Look at the Look at this. Continued to be a sleazeball. Even though he didn't care for Viki, he still made it abundantly clear that he did care. Knowing that her power was the ticket to remaining at the top, it was actually both these guys trying to bamboozle Viki, with this love triangle being at the forefront of things. Viki eventually asked both of them to shake hands and form a truce, to which John Cena basically went, after all of that, you guys are gonna pretend like nothing happened. Basically coming in to mix things up and kind of being the mastermind behind this whole thing. Then making the joke that we were going to get a fight at WrestleMania for Viki's infections or affection. I literally wonder what he would have said if this was a few years earlier and the WWE wasn't PG. So John Cena accomplishes what he set out to do, and that's create dissension. Viki then takes a bunch of bumps after Show and Edge start fighting. The new master manipulator later reads Viki a get well soon card, showing us fusions of what her babies would look like with each man, before finally admitting that WrestleMania was so important that he had to resort to blackmail. Edge on the Go Home SmackDown delivered a fantastic straight to camera promo talking about how much the World Heavyweight Championship meant, that it was everything to him and he couldn't and wouldn't let it go. He talked about how when he beat up John Cena on Monday, he remembered. He saw clearly, if you will. John Cena, after bringing out his army and making the entrance of a lifetime, ended up hoisting both Big Show and Edge on his shoulders before pinning Big Show to capture the world title. Big Show felt very shoehorned into here. I understand there was history, but now looking at it, heck, even looking at it at that time, I really think this should have been one-on-one, especially after this didn't happen in 2006. It was announced that Edge and John Cena would meet at Backlash in a last man standing match, that this would be Edge's last chance at getting the title back. In this is a promo that I feel like generations to come should take notes on. This is a masterclass on how to sum up hatred for someone, how to clearly define the...
This was good, bro. This is good, bro. Two guys in the ring, sitting down, and essentially just letting it be known why I hate you so much. It was so fire, man.
Good guy and the bad guy, while propping up the importance of the prize at the end. I wish I could play this entire segment in this video, but here's my deep look into it. Edge hosted the Cutting Edge with special guest John Cena, and Edge told Cena that he stole his life from him. He said that anything else in his life would find a way to solve itself, but without the World Heavyweight Championship, he was nothing. As long as he had the World Heavyweight Championship, he could handle the ups and downs of life, showing that that was his most valuable possession, bar none. The two then sitting...
He was obsessed with it. That you can get behind. Someone that's like, I gotta have this. I can't function without it. It's so fucking good, bro.
Close up to one another. John Cena running down the history of the two, asking Edge how many years have we been doing this. Telling Edge that the fans knew that every time one guy did something to the other man would raise the bar. Finishing off by telling Edge that he could have told the fans about what was quite possibly the greatest rivalry in sports entertainment history. But instead of highlighting the gravity of that rivalry, he chose not to acknowledge the dance that these two were caught in, but instead talk about how he stole the championship from him. If that's all he had, then Cena was done. And that reminder set off a switch within Edge. He was telling the truth about the world title, but he simply also tells John that he hates him. He hated John. He hated his hat. He hated his shirt. He hated his wristbands. He hated his shoes.
He was Kendrick Lamar to Drake. He was the first one. I hate your hat. I hate your shoes. I hate your shirt. I hate your merch. I hate your family. I hate everything about you. He was the Kendrick Lamar to Drake. He was the first one to do it.
His music, he hated the C Nation, he hated everything that John Cena stood for. And that right there, that is why this was so damn brilliant. The character of Edge telling Cena that he despised everything about him. Telling Cena that it's exhausted the both of them, that it's shortened both their careers, and that this was going to end. Cena denies this, and he admits the faults of the Cena character by telling Edge that yes, he may be a better wrestler, he may be smarter, he may know how to use his resources better, but John Cena knew he was desperate. He knew his power was just that, being the guy who could absorb the most punishment and never quit, knowing in his heart of hearts that he was tougher than Edge. And Edge also knew that. He told Edge that he would be the last man standing. And that right there was why Edge hated John Cena. Edge did all of this crazy nonsense. Edge used everyone in his path to manipulate because he knew Cena could simply take more punishment. This whole rivalry, everything they done to one another, the manipulation was because Edge knew that he needed to manipulate. If he didn't, the resolve of John Cena was just too much.
Too much.
It wasn't anything that he had just mentioned. Not the hat, not the wristbands, not the t-shirt. It's the truth. Edge hated John Cena because he thought of every time he gave his all to Cena, but it wasn't good enough. He simply tells Edge, if you hate me so bad, and if it has to come to an end, end it. End it right now. He points right between the middle of his eyes and tells him to end it. And here's where I think there's a deeper meaning to the character of Edge. A deeply conniving heel who did everything in his power to outsmart Cena. But seeing Cena fired up, seeing his enemy on the other end, he doesn't hit Cena. After Cena implores him to clench his fist and hit him, he stares down his mortal enemy and knows what John Cena has said is completely true. Edge knows that when there's no cheating or underhanded tactics, when John Cena is ready, Edge stands no chance. And that right there is one of the most underappreciated, misunderstood, and defining promos of all time. Maybe I'm looking too deep into it, probably, but this was 10 out of 10. In the lead to Backlash, Edge attacks Cena from behind, proving Cena's point in this promo true.
Yeah.
Even going on to hit John Cena with a concerto, becoming obsessed with him. It seemed like what Cena said on that SmackDown struck a chord with Edge, with him becoming the most volatile version of himself. The Rated R Superstar had one final promo before this last encounter, and it was on this night where we found out about a hidden wound in the Rated R Superstar's career. He brought back January 8th, 2006, New Year's Revolution. The night where this dance started, and he mentioned that he won his first ever world title on that night, but John Cena came back. And since that night, he's done everything in his power to keep him down, but he still comes back. Edge admitted that he would stop at nothing to get what he wanted, and when he talked about Cena getting up over and over again, you could sense what this rivalry was really about. Edge mentioned that John Cena had the strongest resolve of anyone that he had wrestled. Edge said that he had nothing left. This was it. If he didn't beat Cena this Sunday, he had nothing. His wife Viki couldn't help him. He had no friends. And that Sunday, everything would be laid on the line for the last time. John Cena on an episode of Superstars talked directly to Edge. He told him that they'd both manufactured each other's career, that this was the Yankees versus the Red Sox, and to sell the enormity of the match, he asked, what if the Sox and Yankees had to play just one more game? How much would they give to know on the final day they'd be victorious? That for the final time, one would walk out, knowing that at the final bell, one man would be able to tell the story because only the winner writes the history books, knowing one will be the better man, knowing at the end of the night, there will only be one last man standing. Absolutely exceptional build. This should have been the WrestleMania build. This is how you sell a final fight. My words, they don't do justice to how good this was. And that's why it's so frustrating that this didn't end with a definitive finish. Instead, it was the Big Show putting John Cena through a spotlight, with Edge taking advantage and bringing home the World Heavyweight Championship. This was their final big match. These two ended up crossing paths in multi-man matches, with their final match coming on the September 20th, 2010 episode of Monday Night Raw. Edge went on to retire in 2011 while John Cena continued to dominate the company. At one point, Cena was in a rivalry with Brock Lesnar. He was struggling to get the upper hand and getting laid out every week. He'd already lost to The Rock beforehand, and the WWE was spinning this as Cena losing his mojo. Edge came out to remind him of that cold human who was his greatest rival ever, and to wake up. The Rated R Superstar returned in 2020, and for many fans, including myself, the hope was we'd get one final chapter.
For sure.
One last dance with both guys now in myth territory. but they ended up missing each other multiple times over for one
This sucks, bro. We should have got this, bro. One more time. This would have been so fucking good, bro.
reason or another. John Cena will lace him up for the final time in 2025, and another deeply personal rivalry between these two will remain just a wish. This was a tale that was a masterclass. For fans like myself, it's the greatest rivalry of all time. These two men told different stories, and in that process,
they hated each other. It was good.
Stories, crafted each other's legacies. They made one another, and I can't stress that enough. To see both guys grow into what they did, to see the chapters they wrote, to see just how well the two gelled with each other is something that I feel like I'm lucky to say that I witnessed. You had John Cena, who the company was pushing as the top star, meeting his Joker, meeting the man that would stoop to great lengths to get anything over him. For Cena, he needed Edge so badly to prove that he was the future and the company had made the right investment. And for Edge, he needed Cena to show his capabilities as the ultimate bad guy, helping him be in that upper echelon of WWE stars, also laying the groundwork for what the Money in the Bank concept became. Now here we are all these years later, still reliving the magic. Through all the miles, the matches, and the magnificence, we have ourselves a rivalry that truly only comes around once in a lifetime.
Hey, this was a really great video, man. Really, really great video. I'm going to go ahead and give this a like. If y'all haven't already, go subscribe to Super Kick Studios. I know y'all been wanting me to check this out. I'm glad that I did. This was fantastic, bro. This was truly, truly, truly fantastic. I love just going back down memory lane and really appreciating what Edge and John Cena gave us. They essentially definitely helped each other's career without a shadow of a doubt. This feud was really, really good. It didn't overstay its welcome like the Randy Orton and John Cena feud. Even though that was good, it had its great moments, it overstayed its welcome. This was the perfect length, and I wish we could have seen it, especially with Edge had coming back one more time, bro. Just one more time. I think the fans would have loved that. And it's unfortunate we're not going to get that. John Cena's last year, it's next year in professional wrestling. Edge is recovering and still in AEW. We're not going to get it. It's very unfortunate. And so all we can do is really just go back down memory lane and appreciate the stuff that they gave us, because they gave us great storytelling. I will say this, even though Vince McMahon had his moments when it came to the booking side of things for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and WWE as a whole back then, there still were gems, really good gems. It would be gems and then a lot of fucking filler bullshit. This was the gem. This was one of the gems. So comment down below, let me know your favorite match between Edge and John Cena. Let me know your favorite match between these guys, man. But I appreciate all the love and support y'all showing on the channel. Road to 150K. Appreciate y'all kicking with me. See you on the next one. Peace.